all. This is your Professor Ian. This is a short video. I'm going to talk about essays 3 and 4 as we move into the kind of final phase of the course. So let me go to our course. Here we are. Let me go to modules. Here we go. Again, the most important tab on the course. Only one you really need. If we come down here, scroll down, there's a separate module for essay number 3 in case you're looking for the component parts of the essay. So we click on the instructions, response to symptoms of being human. Here are the instructions for essay number 3, and I just want to talk about these briefly. Basically, I'm asking you to respond in one way of your choice to the novel we've been reading together as a class. So let me just say right off the bat that one of the main skills that we're working on in essay number 3 is this ability to use textual evidence to support and form arguments. So, finding the appropriate quotes from the novel to support points and make analytical points about the novel using actual textual evidence from the novel. So that's really something to keep in the forefront of your mind, because that's what you really want to work on in this essay. That's what I'm going to be looking for as I look through your essays, is your ability to use evidence from the novel to support your arguments, to form your arguments, and so on. We'll be covering the triac method of organizing a paragraph, and that's a perfect way to make sure that you're using textual evidence in every body paragraph. So the essay itself, I've given you a choice of 6 prompts or topics. The first one, many people misunderstand Riley's gender fluidity. What is something about you that someone might misunderstand? How does that feel? Do you work to help others understand, or do you try to avoid the subject? Why? You should use both examples from the book and evidence from your own life. So that last point I just want to highlight, right? This first option is kind of a personal narrative, but kind of in a similar way to the first essay that we wrote on code switching. But in this one, you're going to be using evidence from your own life, just like we did in essay number 1, and evidence from the book. It's important that you use both kinds of evidence, and you still have to use textual evidence from the novel. And there are 2 ways to go about doing that. This is another compare and contrast kind of essay, and you can write this in what we call the slice method or the block method. So the slice method means, say, in a single paragraph, you go back and forth between Riley's struggles and your struggles, right? Go back and forth and you slice between the 2 examples within the same paragraph. Or the block method, which means you write a whole paragraph or 2 paragraphs about yourself, and then a whole paragraph or whatever about the other thing that you're comparing and contrasting, which in this case would be Riley's struggles. So there's 2 ways to write that kind of a paper, right? This is a short paper, another 4 or 5 page paper, so you might want to think about the slice method, going back and forth, just to make sure that you focus on textual evidence. But that's up to you how you write the paper. Just bear in mind this first topic is very much still focusing on textual evidence from the novel. You still are reacting and responding to the novel. The second option, Beck clearly blames herself for Riley's abuse. Do you think it is Beck's fault? Why? Who do you blame for this tragedy? You should focus on Beck's actions and use textual evidence from the book. So if you want to make an argument, you think Beck is responsible or not, or in maybe a little bit of both, any response is fine. The whole point is to use textual evidence in every body paragraph to support this claim, right? If you want to claim that Beck is cavalier and doesn't care about Riley, you need to find textual evidence that supports that from the novel. The third one, Jeff Garvin, the author of this book, is not transgender or gender fluid. He is a cisgender white male. Do you think it is okay for him to tell this story? Is it okay for someone outside a group to write about it? You have to use examples from the book. So if you want to claim that he is doing a good job of writing Riley as a character and this is useful, you need to find examples from the book that show this. Or conversely, if you want to argue that he is not doing a good job, what can you point to in the book as an example of that? Okay, so it's all about the textual evidence again. For one of the papers we read, there's the author writes, transgender youth are invisible in most Western cultures because social structures assume a binary classification of gender. What does this mean for a person to be invisible? Are there degrees of invisible? How so? You should consider different characters from the book and use examples from the book. So again, textual evidence. And this one, if you wanted to get into characters like Solo and Beck and even Vickers and other characters, this would be a good topic. And think about this idea of invisibility. How you want to talk about that is up to you, but remember, textual evidence. 5, in this book, Riley feels threatened by people online and accepted by people who connect with her, or both threatened and accepted. Do you think an online presence is important or dangerous for vulnerable people? This is building on something a lot of people wrote about in essay number 3. So if that idea of the online presence interests you, by all means, pursue this prompt. But remember, use examples from the book. Okay? Textual evidence. We're focusing on the novel. Okay, so don't go too far astray. You want to focus on Riley and Riley's example in the book. And 6, do you have an idea not listed here? So this is if you have another idea. But come and talk to me if you want to pursue something else. We can make sure that there is sufficiently rich enough for you to pursue. Then there's some stuff about structure. I won't go over that, but it's just a good idea of how you might structure this. A good maybe formula for a thesis statement. None of this is written in stone, but it's a very good structure. Let's see, just different usual things. No outside sources. I do want a works cited page with the one source, Symptoms of Being Human, which you can also use for your MLA assignment, I might add. But no outside sources, right? If you use material from schmoop.com or study.com or any of those tertiary sites, then that will be considered plagiarism. And remember, you get a bonus mark if you take this to a tutor and do a tutor session on your paper. Anyways, so that's essay number 3. I just wanted to cover that. And I also wanted to touch on essay number 4. I made it available because, let's go back to modules. I realized that we're kind of reaching, we are entering that end period of the course. I don't want to load too much on you and get you worried about that last paper, but it is something to start thinking about in terms of topic. Let me just open this up. This is our research paper. It's called You're the Prof, Cultural Artifact Research Paper. Quite a mouthful. So basically the idea for this paper, I won't go over it in too much depth. This is available for you to read. But the basic idea is that you pretend that you're the professor for a section of 1A, and you're replacing the book Symptoms of Being Human with something else. So what are you going to replace the course novel with? The idea here is that you're going to choose, as I note here, you can choose anything. It doesn't have to be a book. It could be a song, music video, music album, TV series, movie. It could be a book. It could be anything you think is worthy of study, a pop culture item that you think is socially or politically relevant. It would be good to keep it contemporary, but you are not restricted in terms of genre, language, and time. If you really think that everybody should read the Iliad, like we're reading in my mythology class, you could write your paper about that. The point is that you're going to be arguing why it's a relevant text to be for students, for the 1A student should engage with. And so you get to choose the text, and that's going to dictate your research and your approach and everything. I won't go over all this material about structure, research requirements. This is a research paper, so I'm looking for specific research sources. This is something to bear in mind as you start thinking about your topic. In the past, students have really liked this project because you get to work on whatever you want. You can work on your favorite movie, you can work on your favorite novel, whatever interests you, you can work on. That's why I wanted to introduce this now, so you can start thinking about it and at least choose a project and start the ball rolling in terms of thinking about your approach. Because once we turn in the 3rd paper, we only have about a month left in the course. So there's a kind of quick turnaround on this last paper. The last bit of the course is all about this paper, so we'll have a lot of time devoted to it and thinking about research skills and such. But it is really handy if you start thinking about the topic ahead of time. Anyways, that's about it. Please look over these instructions. If you have any questions or concerns, you can email me or come on my office hours Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Thank you very much.